Hello, this is Milton Ali, and you're watching the Investor Tribe podcast. Today's episode is going to be absolutely amazing. You're going to watch regular people. And what I mean by regular people, these aren't necessarily people with 50 doors, 100 doors, 25 doors. You're going to meet 4 regular individuals. Some work in real estate, some do not work in real estate. They are regular people that own over or control through ownership over $1 million in real estate. And so before we get to that video, what I need you to do is to like and subscribe and to become a member of the tribe today. How can you like and subscribe? You can go to our YouTube channel, you can go to our Facebook channel, and you can like and subscribe today. Please share this podcast with as many people that you know. Also, you can become a member of the tribe today. It's free. What are you doing? Go to invtribe.com. That's invtribe.com. If you want to find us on social, if you want to go to Instagram, you want to go to Facebook, you want to go to X, any type of social, you can go at invtribe. That's on all of our socials. You can join us if you're in the Louisville area. You can actually join us for the meetups. Go to invtribe.com to learn more. Also, one last thing. We do Marketplace Mondays. That's every Monday. You'll be able to buy a house through our platform. So you can go to invtribe.com today to buy a platform, learn about all that there is to offer with the tribe membership. This podcast is also sponsored by Kentucky Private Lending. You can go to Kentucky Private Lending for all of your needs. So what we're getting ready to do right now is we're getting ready to go to our $1 million panel that was live at one of our meetups. We had a meetup recently and it was absolutely amazing. 4 regular people, and they control $1 million in real estate. So let's go ahead and watch this right now.
Donnie, you want to lead us off?
Yeah, I'll start.
Good evening. I am Donnie Atkins, real estate investor, flipper, all of the above. But I actually wanted to, before I go into that spiel, I do want to give Milton a shout out because Milton said he is a realtor. And I am so tired of people saying they are realtors. Like I'm just sick and tired of that.
Thank you.
And a lot of times, actually, depending on the situation, I will correct someone. I said, "Oh, when did you become a realtor? Like, what does that even mean?" And so, I'm an a-hole like that sometimes.
No,
You can ask my
I'm
wife.
with
But I've been in real estate officially since 2015, unofficially since 2014. And my story really, really quick is when I moved back to Louisville in 2012, 2013, my now wife had a house in Indianapolis, and we had that house rented out it was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car attached car garage in like a B+ neighborhood. And we had that house rented out for like $400 a month. And the reason it was $400 a month is because we didn't know what the hell we were doing. And a friend of a friend recommended someone, and this person, it was just her by herself with like 3 cats. And we said, what's the worst that could happen? Well, after about 6 months, 4 or 5 months, 6 months of writing $400 or $500 checks to the mortgage company every month, I said there has to be something else to this, and I had to figure that out. Did the little Googling, ended up on YouTube University, ended up finding Bigger Pockets, ended up connecting with CREA several years ago. And pretty much after that, the rest is history. So we kicked that person out, ended up getting someone in that house, renting it out for, I want to say at the time it was like $1,600. So after insurance and taxes, it was netting us about $400 or $500 per month. I said, wow, I think I can do this. If I can do this in Indianapolis, I can do this in Louisville. My first house in Louisville was, I think the mortgage, when we purchased it, the mortgage on it was like $98 a month. And it was less than a Ruth's Chris dinner. And the rent on it at the time was $725, and I haven't looked back since. So that's mine in a nutshell.
Nice.
Hi, I'm Koya, and I'm kind of similar to Donnie as far as the YouTube University because pretty much my story is I was 21 years old in the military, hated it, and got out of the military and was finishing college, and I knew that I didn't want to graduate college with debt, so I paid off all my debt while being in college and paid for myself to go to school, working full time. And I was like, it has to be more than just like saving and paying off debt. So then I went through all of these different YouTube channels, stumbled on Bigger Pockets, Earn Your Leisure, and from there, I literally was like, okay, let me find a local community in Louisville, and I actually found Donnie. And I got my duplex. I didn't even know Donnie. I was like, hey, I found you on Krea, and I see that you invest in real estate. What do you think about this duplex? And didn't even know him. And Donnie was like, hey, this looks like a good deal. And honestly, I was like, he knows what he's doing from seeing him on Facebook. So I went there, got my duplex, and I did a FHA 203K rehab where I had the renovations and the home loan all in one. And when I first purchased it in 2021, I was having to pay $200 a month. From the tenant was only renting it for $520, I had to pay an additional like $200 a month. And like literally a year later, COVID spiked all the rents. So I went from having to pay $200 a month to living there completely free. And I was like, oh my goodness, like I'm not living at my parents. Like at my parents, I wasn't paying bills. Now I'm living by myself, not paying bills. So it was like a really big change for me. So from there, that's when I just kind of did house hacking. I have another small multi with my husband where we house hack still. I've gotten other single family homes, and it's just been a very big, cool experience. And it all started just looking on YouTube, finding Krea, reaching out to Donnie, not even knowing him, and that was also my connection with Milton as well. So it's just been a fun experience for me.
Hi, I'm Angie Chambers, and my background is elementary education. I was a kindergarten, first, second grade teacher for 20 years. I started in real estate kind of as a hobby. I always had a passion for real estate, and we just came upon a neighbor who wanted to get out of their house. And we started thinking of creative ways to buy the house, and we ended up buying the house and flipping it. That was our first flip about 20 years ago. So I was teaching full-time, flipping as a side gig, did that for a few years, and then I learned about the BRRRR method and started joining different organizations, meetups. And when the interest rates dropped, John, to like 3%, then I realized the power of buying and holding. So then I started buying some rentals. We have a few long-term rentals. And I have a furnished rental that is a midterm, so it's a 30-day minimum that I rent to travel nurses. That's been a lot of fun. I kind of like that asset class and am looking to buy a few more of those. But right now, I'm just mostly flipping. Once the interest rates went back up to 7, I started flipping again, and right now, mostly flipping, but I want to get back into buy and hold, and that's my goal for 2026.
Nice. All right, my name is Verl Bryce. I got my journey started in real estate through wholesaling. So I don't know some of you realtors in here. Maybe I had real estate or wholesaling has had a bad name over the years. And that's due for good reason, because a lot of guys didn't come into the game to do it the right way, to really solve problems. So when I got it started in wholesaling, I was already good at problem solving because I came from a technical background. So I'm typically behind the scenes. I'm a developer, not like a real estate developer, but I'm actual build your mobile app, build your website. I'm building SaaS, things like that, right? So I already understood processes, systems. So when I got into real estate, and wholesaling is one of those low barrier to entry parts of real estate. So when I came in, I noticed it was very lax. We called it the Wild Wild West. So a lot of guys were doing things, in different ways. When I got involved, I started immediately building processes for our company. It was me and a partner at that time. And I kind of handled the technical aspects of that business or the business. And he was the know-how. So we used to sit and watch a bunch of Sean Terry videos. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Sean Terry, but amazing guy. But we learned a lot through that. And from there, I took my profits, and I was also listening to another guy named Joe McCall. And Joe McCall spoke very highly of being in control of real estate, but not owning it. Didn't understand all that at the time, didn't need to either. I just knew I wanted to do it. So I immediately started taking my funds and putting myself in the position to buy creatively. So I'm probably, I don't know, maybe I'm the only person on the panel who has never purchased a property traditional. Through no traditional means have I ever purchased a property. Yep. So, I'm here on the panel though, right? So that kind of means something, but either way. But we've primarily focused on buying subject to owner finance, and I guess we'll kind of get into the weeds of that later, but that's kind of pretty much my start. So just starting off from wholesaling to wanting to evolve into something a little different and to be able to control some assets and also set myself up where I wasn't just always looking for a transaction to make money, but to also build up wealth essentially over time. So that's my start on my journey.
And you just mentioned owner finance and subject to deals. They have some people in the crowd that aren't too familiar with that. Can you explain, how that works, or what are the benefits of them, and what should newer investors do before they jump into that?
Absolutely, yeah. So subject to, if you're not familiar with it, the basis of it is this. The simplest way to put it is, I'm taking over payments for a person who maybe either fell behind on their mortgage, and not all the time. Sometimes they just want to get out of it. There's things like you may have heard of something like called swap-a-lease. So those are for vehicles, but swap-a-lease is a way where if you're tied into a lease on a car, you just don't want it anymore, but you can't get out of it. You maybe want to it just creates an opportunity. So then people will then say, okay, I will sell you my lease, and maybe they can make a little bit of money on that lease or whatever. So you got different ways where you can set these up. So it can be as complicated as you want them to be, but the simplest way to wrap your head around it is that you're taking over the payments for somebody's mortgage, essentially. And
without signing for it though, right? So without signing for the mortgage though.
Without signing for, yeah. So, okay, yeah, you're good job.
want me to-
Good job. No, you're right. So essentially what happens is the mortgage stays in place, and I am not the debt, I don't own the debt, but I do control the asset, which is the house, but not the debt. The debt remains where it was, and I take over the payments. So, yeah.
And so my question would be, what is one mistake that taught you more than any book or course would? So anyone, it's for anybody. What's one mistake you've made in your real estate investing journey that's like, you know what, I learned, loud and clear. It was a lesson really that you're willing to share with the group.
Let's see.
Everybody running for that.
Donnie,
Everybody share.
Everybody, I got several. Yeah, I do have a lot. So back in, I bought actually 2 restaurants during the pandemic. One did very, very well, and the other one did not do as well. But what I learned in that is that I also own the properties of those restaurants. And so, and I won't give out the names because I don't want to embarrass myself, but the second one, I was just really riding off the high of the first one. So that second building, my wife told me, do not purchase it. And I said, oh, okay. So my wife doesn't want to buy it. So what I did was I went out and found two other individuals who were just as crazy as I am. And so we all purchased it together. And I told my wife, I was like, well, see, we didn't buy it by ourselves. We purchased it with other people. And that was also a mistake. And so I was into the game so deep. I would say in hindsight, that was almost an $800,000 mistake. And so a few things on that. What I've learned is, like, always have a business attorney. And even I had a business attorney at the time, but I was not using him the way I should use him. And so today, if I send him a text message or a telephone call and he sends me a $300 bill, I gladly pay it, because I know those type of bills several years ago would have saved me $800,000. And so to just kind of wrap that up, I ended up owning the building. So when I got out of that particular business, I had someone else purchase the business from me. This was all crazy. I had someone purchase the business from me, and they were paying me a triple net lease of $10,400 per month. My mortgage on that property was like $4,700 a month, and I ended up making out like very, very well. My wife still was upset that we owned it, even though we were making an incredible cash flow. So I had to figure out how to make my wife happy. So I took her on vacation about a year ago, and I gave her a deed, and basically the deed said paid off, because I ended up selling that property to the people who own it now. And so I guess the lesson in that is to listen to your significant other.
I definitely can understand that, because there's been some things with me where I probably should have listened to my husband as well. So, but for me, I would say it's I don't know if it's a judge of character, but just really trying to give chances, I guess. It's like when it comes to tenant screening, when it comes to contractors, when it comes to property managers, we have lost money because I have been like, well, I don't like how that went, but let me give them another chance. So just being slow to fire, slow to renewing a lease, even though I'm like, they've been late multiple times in this 1 year. Why am I renewing it? So those different things has probably been my biggest mistake.
I think most new investors think that they can do the work themselves cheaper because they want to either learn how to do it or, they can do it cheaper. So one of the biggest mistakes I think we learned starting out was hire professionals who know how to do the job right from the beginning. Pay extra money for a good licensed electrician, good licensed plumber, good licensed HVAC person. Don't have a GC that's not licensed, because those are going to cost more money in the end. There's going to be problems with the electrical. They're going to come up in the inspections. So I think we had a project that we did a full gut on. So it was just down to the outside walls, and we had hired a GC that really wasn't qualified to do that job. And so I think the biggest lesson that I learned was make sure that you're hiring the right contractors and that you set specific expectations on timelines. That project went on for 18 months and it cost a lot of holding money. So having clear expectations, qualified contractors, and clear expectations with what you want from your contractors.
I think everybody, probably everybody in the crowd as well, has a story similar to that. It didn't cost us $800,000, Donnie. That's massive. But we took a major loss, my brother and I, on a couple flips that we've done together. But I think the lesson in those mistakes was, one was, don't be so quick to trust someone just because you want to believe it. It is your responsibility 100% to ask the right questions, to to really dig in and to really listen to your contractor. Because you hear most of the horror stories in real estate that I've heard, and I've been around for a while. I think I wholesaled for about 2 years. I started flipping maybe about 4 years later after that. So we did a lot of creative stuff up in between there. But as far as when we got to the flipping, that's where a lot of the problems happen, and it's because it's other people. And sometimes you just can't be willing to trust just because you want to hear the good thing. You really have to do your due diligence, and that is your responsibility, 100%. So you can say, hey, it's this guy's fault, it's that guy's fault, and I'm not teaching life lessons in here, but it was just something that I learned. I have to take 100% responsibility over everything, not just because I want to take it or because somebody said it. You have to follow up, you have to stay on top of it, but that would be one of the major mistakes that we learned, and we lost a lot of money. It wasn't 800,000, but we lost quite a bit of money, and but I think that comes with the territory. You're going to make mistakes, and you're going to pay for them, but you can mitigate those by doing just that, doing your due diligence, taking full ownership over every aspect of your business. Doesn't matter what it is, and that is nobody's responsibility but yours.
So this will be one or two last questions before we turn it over to the audience. All right. What happens is, snap my fingers, you don't have any properties. You're back to where you were whenever you started. What would you do differently? And we're talking about today, okay? Because we're in the present. How would you start over if you had nothing today? Anybody wants to take that?
So if I had to start over completely today, I would one, make sure I don't have any consumer debt. I would pay off all consumer debt because this is if you're doing rentals. I don't know about flipping, but for rentals, I would make sure I don't have any consumer debt because different things come up when it comes to owning rentals in general. I would also make sure I have a good credit score. I would try my best to do what I can to make sure I have a 720 credit score because you get more easier lending options. I would also house hack. I think house hacking is the best and the easiest way to get started with real estate. So I would either buy a property, buy a house and rent out the rooms. If I don't want my tenants to be that close to me, I would buy a duplex and rent out the other unit. I would just do whatever possible to where I'm living for free by house hacking.
I think if I had to start all over, one, I would do house hacking. Before we moved into our house today, I tried to get my wife to buy a fourplex, and she was not interested in it at all. But secondly, and I'm just now learning this, I've called Hampton about this several times, and I'm just now really figuring out this particular game. But if I knew what I knew today and I had 0 properties and I had to start over, I would quit my job and I would be buying properties out of my IRA. Like I would try to figure out as much as possible and buy it out of an IRA. Now, although you do have to, and I say quit the job because you have to have access to the IRA. I know some people say you can start one up and yada yada. Banks will, if you have a significant amount of money in that IRA, banks will look at you very, very favorably, and they wouldn't care as much as you working a 9 to 5. And so we're going through that process right now, and this is like a game changer. Now, of course, there's some caveats to that. Like you can't touch the money, you can't deal with any of the money until you're 59 and a half, which I thought that kind of sucks because if I'm making 100% of the money that I'm supposed to make, I can't give myself a loan until I talk to someone, and that name will remain anonymous unless you ask me. I just don't want to put them out there. And it's like, oh yeah, everything is legal if you know how to do it. And really figuring out how to do it out of an IRA is almost, what is it, the eighth wonder of the world. And I wish I would have known that about 10 years ago.
I think if I had to start over, I would surround myself by experts who have done it well and learn from them, ask questions. I work with a lot of investors as a realtor that are flipping 30 houses a year. So for me, I want to learn and model what they're doing. It's, instead of recreating the wheel, right? Just copy and paste what someone who's doing it well is doing. That would be my advice. Hang around with people who are doing it.
So if I'm starting over again, it's kind of like what actually happened. Didn't have any money. It was my way to get into the game. It was my way to get my foot into the door, which was wholesaling. Personally, I wouldn't change a thing. The only things that I would change though is I would have built more relationships quicker. I would have moved faster. I would have not taken for granted quick money. That's what I would have done differently. And so I would have been in rooms like this. I would have went to Korea more. I didn't even go to Korea half the time. And the only time I did come is, I got some deals, guys. And I just thought that was everything. But the biggest thing is like relationships and building those and building strong ones. So I wish I would have did that faster because I probably would have been on the billion dollar panel because we can move extremely fast. I think one of the things about wholesaling, why I love it, and I would never change that, even though a lot of people like frown upon it, I can care less. But it's because you learn the art of deal finding. That it's an art to it. Most people don't want to put the time in to go actually find the deals. They want to invest in the deals. But imagine if you was actually able to go find your own deals. You would get those deals significantly cheaper than what you're buying them for. So personally, that would be the only thing. It would be just these type of settings and in this room, because there's you just don't know what you don't know until you meet other people, and they teach you a couple different things, and you're able to tweak your business and grow faster. I think that was the biggest thing that I picked up. So if I'm starting over, that's what I would change. So meet a lot of people, network.
All right, so, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to add, like, there's a lot of professionals in this room already. And so I think the whole networking and moving faster, like all the time I look at when Facebook pops up, I look at those Facebook memories. It's kind of jacked up today for the last few days, but in my Facebook memories, a friend of mine's, we tagged each other. And so there's Shavli houses about 10 years ago going for like 80,000 in relatively decent shape. That same house today is going for like 130, 140, and it's almost vacant and abandoned. But it's when I look at it and I'm like thinking about it, and it starts to be pending. I was like, imagine if I would have started purchasing $80,000, $70,000 nice Shavli houses on 10 years ago. Like I saw those opportunities, I saw those deals, but I didn't look at them because that's not where I was at the time. So I think moving a little bit faster on deals is information.
Yeah. Okay, so the last question before we go to the crowd is, there's somebody in here who wants to start, yet they don't know what to do and they feel stuck. What advice can you provide tonight?
Give the deal to me. Look, the best way I can explain it, like I was trying to explain this the other day. If you're used to, I know a lot of us used to play double dutch as a kid, and double dutch is like, once the rope starts going, you gotta jump in when you feel it's your turn. And I think that's how real estate is sometimes. Like if you get the inkling or if you get that itch, then eventually you have to jump in because you can miss the turn or you can listen to the wrong person. I don't often tell people outside of spaces like this that I'm a real estate investor. Actually, I tell people that I'm a house husband because my wife makes all the money. I'm okay with that. And so I don't usually talk about that outside of these particular events. But imagine if you don't start, what that looks like. And so imagine listening to someone who is telling you, because I think there's just as many people who were in real estate who are not in real estate today because they didn't want to fix toilets. And I was like, really, toilet? That is just the least of your problems. Like, we're trying to figure out how you build generational wealth. And what has happened over the last, I would say, let's just say 3 months. Amazon has laid off, tens of thousands of people. Ford, Humana's moving out of the community. Like, all of these people are laying off. The pension is gone. Like, you can forget it. If you work a job with a pension, like, please stay there. But all right, I'm gonna pass it on because I can keep on going.
What was the question? No, really, what was it?
If you don't know, if you feel stuck,
Yeah.
you want to get started, but you feel stuck and you don't know what to do.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. But so for me, so there's always gonna be like so many reasons why not to get started. But for me, the way how I looked at it and what I literally told all of my family and friends, because everybody was looking at me crazy, I don't know anybody who will not need a house. Everybody needs a house to live in. So for me, I just don't see where there's ever going to be a loss into owning a property. There's always going to be someone that needs to live somewhere. The government never wants everybody to be homeless, right? So I just feel like, for me personally, that has really been my deciding factor on why, even when I get so upset, why I didn't just choose to sell all of my properties, right? Because everybody always needs somewhere to live, and there's always going to be growth within real estate because of it.
I, again, want to go back to the whole idea of networking, coming to these events, meeting other people who are doing it, asking questions. Other investors can teach you who to go see to get money. How are you going to get your financing? Well, I can connect you with somebody who's good at financing. You can do private money, hard money, traditional. Where do you find your properties? Well, come to CREA. We're going to meet wholesalers, and they're going to help us find properties. How do you find contractors? Well, again, ask other investors what contractors are good. So I think it's networking and just talking to people who are already doing it, asking questions, finding somebody who can mentor you even on your first deal. Just kind of joint venture together and get started. Just get started. You're gonna make mistakes, and that's okay. Just get started.
And you took my answer. No, but yeah, it would be the same thing, really. It's networking, it's empowerment through other people. If you sit down with John for just a moment, I met John at Milton's birthday party, actually, Top Golf. Yeah, we had that was a great night too, by the way. And the way he talked about the BRRRR method was invigorating. I actually went to my brother's house afterward, and I said, bro, we got to do the BRRRR method. Like, we got to be in this BRRRR stuff. Like, it's hot, like it's jumping, and I see the vision for it. Talk about the 4 quadrants. It's like, I don't know that stuff if I'm not at an event. I don't hear that quickly. So, I mean, yeah, you might get lucky and hear it on YouTube University, but to see someone actually speak with empowerment to empower you with the ideas just because you're in the room, that's second to none. So that's why, that's so powerful, the networking aspect. You have to be in the room. And again, like I said before, the thing that I learned the most, or I would have, like I said, I forgot what the question was, but the thing that I learned the most about myself was like the way I could have started my career faster would have been just networking. So that is the answer, because you just don't know what you don't know until you know it. and you got to get into these rooms. You got to shake these hands. You got to come about that shell, because YouTube University, while it will give you certain information, you're gonna probably have analysis paralysis, right? And I think everybody's had it. So it's cool. Don't beat yourself up. If I'm talking to that new person, don't beat yourself up. But get in the room, be around these individuals that's in this room, because it's a wealth of knowledge in here. I don't know everybody personally, but I can just tell the way everybody swaggered out, how you cross your leg, how your demeanor, your nonverbals. I see some real players in the room. So this is the type of room you want to be in. So do that, you'll be fine.
Okay, so now we would like to get any questions from the audience. Anybody that has a question, we can bring it before the panel. Yeah, go ahead.
Virgil. Virgil. You mentioned 4 quadrants or something that you learned of.
Yeah.
Could you share it?
John would be better equipped to share that, but and John, you're gonna have to help me out. But you go ahead.
There's 4 ways to make money with any piece of real estate. There's your cash flow, there's your appreciation, there's your debt pay down, there's your tax benefits. That's the 4 quadrants of earning held real estate.
Yeah, that's concept.
Okay,
Thanks, John.
any other questions for the panel?
Acquisition.
Yes.
Farrell, what's your phone number?
502-322-3849. It is VERREL.
And when Verl gets that deal, he'll give it to me.
We're doing a deal right now, actually. I think we're close on the Thursday, so yeah.
Yeah, so any other questions from the audience?
Is
Yeah,
there,
go.
is there a good resource that you can get further information when you talk to our town?
On card.
Okay, great.
Maybe what we need to do is John write a little blurb or a post on Investor Tribe that people can put, you got contact information up there, people read it, refer back to it.
They can refer.
I think we've got 50 some blogs already on the website.
We do.
And then we're looking for additional content, deals that we post on there on Marketplace Monday. So we're trying to make it a vibrant community where people can ask questions, get answers, help each other out, and foster, getting deals done with our members.
Okay. So I do have another question if anybody doesn't, just to kind of, we really want to pull as much wisdom out of the panel as possible.
I've got one.
Yeah, go for it.
I have a favorite type of property that I love to buy, right? And every investor's is different. What do you all want in if you could pick your buy box exactly, like I want a 3-1 ranch, single family, that's me. What is your all's exact buy box? And can you tell me why? I'm just curious and I want to learn why you all attack a certain property class or type the way you all do.
Donnie?
So when I started out, I started investing in the Russell neighborhood, the Russell community. And I used to live in the Russell community, so I started investing in that particular community. So my first deal here in Louisville was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath house. I think it's like 800 square feet. And so I didn't really understand what the whole buy box meant until I got with a person named George Forey. And everybody probably knows George. And George told me something that is still kind of transformational to this day. And George said, pick a neighborhood, learn everything you can about that neighborhood, and you will make, your deals will be, of course, much, much better. And so there's not a lot, although I've got stuff in Fern Creek, Shively, the East, South, etc. But you can't tell me a lot about the Russell neighborhood without me being super, super involved. As a matter of fact, I want to say somebody just somebody posted something not long ago as far as selling something in Russell. He's a realtor, and he mentioned one of my buildings that were close by in his ad. And so I thought that was pretty cool. But as of right now, I'm usually looking for about 3 or more. I'm usually looking for vacant and abandoned properties because those folks are probably a little bit more desperate to sell. And if I can get something that I know that's worth $200,000 plus at $50,000, and it's not going to take me an arm and a leg to build back up, and I have really, really great equity, that may be good to me. So I'm getting equity. I get the acquisition, get the tax benefit. I'm going to have great cash flow out of it, and I get equity. So I'm pretty much hitting all four of those quadrants. So for me, as long as that is kind of the price points around where I'm going to be at, like, I don't really mind it being even a 2-bedroom. So, yeah.
I would say anything that's 2 and up for me is pretty much where I own a 1-bedroom duplex, and I have long-term tenants in those, but I find that it's more marketable 2 bedrooms and up with finding tenants.
So for me, my buy box is deal by deal. I think for rentals, my buy box is a 2-1 or 3-1, like you, John, because it has to make sense financially. So I'm not going to buy a $400,000 or $500,000 house and intend to rent that. I might flip that if the numbers make sense, but I don't see how you can cash flow on a $400,000 or $500,000 home. You can't charge, if you're looking at the 1% rule, you can't charge $4,000 a month for this house. So it makes more sense to flip that one. Whereas if I can find those homes around, I like Churchill Downs. Used to be able to buy homes over there for $60,000, $70,000, put 30 into them and rent them for $1,200, $1,300. So I think my buy box for rentals is a 2-1 or 3-1. Small. You keep the payment down and make sure that your rent is going to cover your mortgage.
And if you notice when you guys were talking, I was taking notes because I'm building your buy boxes. So you'll be getting those in your email. Don't worry about it. So me personally, because this is the deal. If it makes sense, one thing I've learned is you may have a 2-1, but if it's 1,500 square feet and it's a 2-1, you can always convert it. So it's based on the deal. A lot of the maybe subject to, maybe a little, the subject twos. If I'm looking at something like that, which I do look at a lot of those, and just as a little nugget, I mean, everybody probably knows, but you can go like foreclosure.com. You can go to a lot of these places. You go to auction houses, things like that. There's a ton of them. Just Google it. Now you got AI. Use that. But you can find stuff pretty easily. But when I reach out to someone, I'm just looking for areas specifically. Like, for instance, I will probably look East End. If I go West End, I'm going to be more about 37th Street on up towards the Parkway is where I'll put my main focus at personally for myself. So all my properties that I have, which I'm outside of Kentucky as well, but all the properties that I have are all East End properties. So I don't own anything in the West right now. I would love to, but I just don't actually have it. And another reason why it's too, because you look at appreciation historically, it's just the truth. The East End is always appreciated higher. It's just what it is. So we're in the game. We're in the game of monopoly. So we're trying to get to it. But yeah, that's and the reason why I love the subject to model. I want to just throw this out there. It's a little nugget I was thinking about before I came, which is if anybody ever seen the movie The Founder about Ray Kroc, okay, I love the movie. Great, awesome movie. But in the movie, you learn a couple of different things of why McDonald's actually became what they became today. And when I was in Amway, I used to be in Amway back in the day when I was in college, and it taught me so much about delayed gratification, things like just principles. And but when I used to do what we call draw the plan, I would get up and I'll draw all these different circles, and I would teach people about the franchising method and why it was so intriguing, and why it you can build your business and it can grow like wildfire. And when I started looking at subject to and just even creatively, the reason why it was so intriguing to me is because when I looked at it from a franchising model, and not necessarily like a franchise itself, but the idea of it one of the ways that I mitigated risk was being able to put tenant buyers into my property, and they became franchisees. So they thought like a franchisee because they had to show up. They had to make sure that the cooks were there. They had to make sure that the schedules was made. They had to make sure that the property was clean. So when I'm thinking about properties, I want properties that's going to appreciate, but then also that people are going to appreciate. And I could put them into these properties, and I know for a fact, which I have a property in Brazil, Indiana. I've never been there, but it's a beautiful home. But the guy calls me all the time. I don't have to call him. He calls me. He takes care of all the maintenance. He takes care of everything. And he has a beautiful family. They all live in the house, and hopefully he'll be buying this house soon. But for me, that's kind of what I'm looking at. So when I'm looking down the road, I'm looking at properties that I know is going to appreciate well, and that I'll do well on the back end. For flips, it doesn't really matter where they're at, just as long as the price is right. Yeah, I'm good there.
That movie you bring up, one of my favorite lines about how to think comes from it when they ask him at the bar what business he's in, and they tell him he's in the hamburger business, and he explains how they're all incredibly wrong.
Yeah.
Because almost everybody thinks that McDonald's is a hamburger business, and it never has been.
Nope.
They own almost all of the highest end corners in America,
That's real estate.
and they own the land and lease back hold. He is the world's largest single real estate player, and if you haven't seen it, you should take a look at it.
Any other questions from the audience?
How do you all find your contractors, and what do you look for?
So my brother is a licensed general contractor, so we kind of got lucky on that. But I'm social media, man. I've tested out several contractors over the last decade. Some I like, some I didn't like. Some really try to cheat me. And so in my phone, I used to delete old contractors that didn't work out. But in my phone today, I have do not answer. And if I have do not answer as your name, that means you were an old contractor. So I started keeping text messages, etc. And so I'll give you for instance, like I'll just dress like this, and I'll go to a job site, and let's just say a plumber would say we can put a water heater, standard water heater in your unit, for $3,000, and I'll get it licensed for you, inspected, stickered for you. Well, I know that price is between $1,500 and $1,900, maybe less than $2,000. So that means he'll call it a water heater, I'll call it an HVAC system, and he'll correct me. And I was like, oh yeah, you're right, okay. And then they'll give me this crazy price, and then it lets me know right there that I can't work with that person. So, I also have this thing about contractors using tape measures. And so, unfortunately, I've worked with some contractors over the years who can't read tape measures. And I say that in jest, kind of joking around, but when you think about it, their work is indicative of them not being able to read a tape measure. So, a lot of times, and I think Verl said this early on, you're just going to have to bump your head a little bit and figure out, you're just going to have to figure that game out. And if they're a really good contractor, one, they're not going to be available. Two, their availability is so far out where they're going to be really expensive. Or you're going to have to grow with someone.
I just want to thank the tribe, and I want to thank the panel. I got to go to the game.
My man.
Get the gangster.
We're room for it.
Kind of similar to Donnie. Basically, you gotta really learn. And I actually just started that where I have do not hire or I do not answer. I have that same thing. But for me, I have a contractor that's started with me at the very beginning. I've just still worked with him, and he gives me the lowest prices. And sometimes I feel like, no, you raising the prices on me. Then I'll go to somebody else and the work is poor, and I'm like, let me go back to him. So for me, it's I've been dealing with the same contractor. I work with him pretty much for all my projects, and when he's not available, I use social media, or I reach out to other investors and ask for, hey, do you have a plumber or electrician? and that has been what has helped me.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think recommendations or getting referrals either from another investor or realtors. Realtors have a list of contractors because we have to do repairs on, when we're working with buyers. We know who all the good contractors are, right? So we have a list of preferred contractors. So ask a realtor or an investor.
Absolutely. I think all those are excellent ways. One of the things I do sometimes is, and it happened by accident, actually. When I'm driving around in the neighborhoods, so I do a thing we call driving for dollars. And so we'll just bend corner after corner. Oh, is it not on? We'll just bend corner after corner, and I look for dumpsters. So, but do this with respect, guys. So I'll find a dumpster, and then I'll befriend everyone on the site. And so I'll go up, and then we'll talk. And so I get two things out of that. Number one, I'm about to get a contractor, or at least a plumber, or somebody to drywall, whatever. Secondly, I get to see the work. So I go in the house and I go take a look at the work, and I'm like, oh, you guys did a great job. You mind if I take photos? And then I just, connect. So I do that a lot of times for guys that I work with. Like obviously I know quite a few investors throughout Louisville. I mean, we all know each other pretty much, but I sell a lot of deals to different guys. And so I have some guys who are kind of newer, and they're like, do you know any contractors? Well, yeah, I actually met one. And I may pass some information along. So, because I think the biggest thing, personally, just so you wrap your head around like who I am and how I move, I believe in I want to serve everyone that I'm doing business with. So if I bring an investor a deal, if I can also bring him a contractor, and he loves me, and then he wants to come buy that deal from me again, right? So to answer that question, drive around, look for dumpsters, but you don't want to poach people's work. You don't want to be disrespectful because that ultimately comes back on you. So tread lightly with that. Personally, that's how I move. But I will go around, look at dumpsters, and not look at dumpsters, but look for dumpsters and connect with different contractors that way.
Is there anything? Well, let me share this one last. Before we wrap. So if you ever want to know what behind Investor Tribe, behind the scenes looks like, so this duck right here, we're probably going to keep this duck. We probably got to clean it and get a better duck because it represents, he used to hold our microphone, so we used to, with tape. So our whole thing was literally, our podcast was held together with duct tape in the beginning. So that's always going to be an important piece there. And what's so cool is that, and Mike Butler looked out for us, New York Times bestselling author, looked out for us before anyone, did. And so we're always going to be grateful. And then we got the rest of the studio here. The way this even started out is we all used to be in a room. We all used to be in this one room here with those guys in the corner, and then we were able to build out. So a lot of growth there, a lot of opportunity. So
watch the Investor Tribe podcast every Monday and Thursday, 9 a.m. Eastern.